Hello, world. Mr. Resistor here, continuing our temporarily Omega journey. Um, so, yesterday we completed the Sisters of Eve epic arc, and today we are headed back home. So, let's see. I think we'll just do some quick scanning to get our dailies done today, but it's just going to be mostly traveling and need to gather up my planetary industry goods. While I'm Omega.
Warp drive active.
I'm already spacing on what else was in here. Oh, okay, LP. Right.
Warp drive active. Warp drive active. Warp drive active. Warp drive active. Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Okay. For a second there, my seemed like my mic wasn't registering. Okay. Unload all this. Let's go ahead and just go do our scanning real quick.
Warp drive active. Warp drive active.
Alright, so our necessary business is taken care of, so let's go and
Warp drive active.
pick up our planetary products. Nice. That's a lot of skill points.
Warp drive active. Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Okay. I'm glad I don't have anything super complicated uh, going on
Warp
here.
drive active.
I do have a bit of a complicated um, web um, with my other characters. Trying to get to the point where I can produce everything. Um, so here's what I was saying the other day, right? When I was talking about uh, Loru's video about doing planetary industry, right? Like, um, you always have to be aware of your transfer costs, right? Your taxes. Um, and they apply to both import and export, right? So this is going to cost me 3 million to export all these materials from the planet, right? And the value is considerably more than that, but that's a cost that you have to consider, right? So it's 27 million, but with the export costs, it comes out to somewhere around 25 million, right? 24, 25 million. And that's one of the things, when you're looking and trying to do the calculations to figure out what's going to be profitable. Um, a lot of times, the higher tier stuff, right? Like maybe, um, I mean, the lion's share of the value here is the enriched uranium, right? And as a portion of the cost of export, let's go on to the next planet.
Warp drive active.
And maybe it'll be a little bit easier to see what I mean, right? So a lot of times your transfer costs can actually be um, lower when you're moving higher tier goods. Um, so even though um, on paper the way that Loru decides what he's going to make, the lower tier one might seem like it's more profitable, right? That just straight looking at sale at um, market price, uh, we're not adding value when we say go from plasmoids to transmitter, right? So um, it's 128,000 for 1600 transmitter. Yeah, I don't know. Um, like it's still kind of getting concentrated, right? I suspect that what it would cost to export all of the plasmoids and chiral structures necessary to make these transmitters would probably be more than the whatever 3.5 million or so Uh, the taxes, I mean. So, um, someone else is welcome to do that math. I'm not.
Warp drive active.
I'm not enough of a data science nerd to do it myself. Um, I think I've got my point across, which is just that you need to be aware of those costs. They're not zero, and they should be factored into your calculations when you're deciding what you should make. And that is my only criticism of Loru's video on the topic. Otherwise, I think he did an excellent job of explaining an important part of the game that probably most people are overlooking.
Warp drive
Um,
active.
Now, taxes in high sec are, I believe, um, set by NPCs. In nullsec, I think it's all player driven, but I'm not a nullsec guy. I'm not even a low sec guy, other than faction warfare. So don't quote me on that, but I believe that's the case. That um, those whatever you call them, the planetary interaction hubs or whatever, are controlled by players. The no, and they set the taxes. In this case, right? So everything everything here is T0 and T1. Um,
Warp drive active.
so it's going to be bulky but relatively cheap. Um, on my other characters, I go all the way up to T4 planetary goods. And the value there is somewhat mixed, right? And a lot of it, a lot of the justification on my part is to have a steady supply of this stuff for my other manufacturing, right? Because for T2 ships and modules, right, this stuff starts to become necessary. Um, Now, for the higher tier, it's not possible to do a T4 uh, production from a single planet. Um, the command centers just don't have uh, enough power or CPU for that. So,
Warp drive active.
so you're going to have to, if you're doing a full production line like me, you either purchase the lower tier stuff that you need to make the higher tier stuff, or you produce it yourself, right? Either way, one way or another, you're paying those taxes um, to get those goods. So, in my case, I'm producing it on one planet. Um, here, I'm only doing T0. Well, I guess T1 and T2. I guess. Um,
Warp drive
right.
active.
So Yeah, so this is T0 is what you pull out of the ground. T1 is the refined version of that, so that's our toxic metals, plasmoids, bacteria. Um, T2 is then made from a combination of those, right? And so on up the chain. So at some point, you are going to have to produce something on one planet, pay the export taxes to get it into your ship, take it to another planet, import it, pay the import taxes. Um, so there is a lot of tax involved in the production. And one of the ways to save on that tax, right, is to produce as high a tier as you can on one planet. That creates other problems. You know, everything is a trade off. So you have to decide what is the best way for you to manage this stuff, right? Transfer. But, you know, not to keep hammering on the same point and be super repetitive, but taxes have to be part of the calculation of how you're setting up your planetary industry. Because anything that you export or import, you're paying taxes on. So that's a cost. That's gonna affect your profitability. And you know, in this case, the stuff that I really care about is still gonna be profitable. Um, the tier one stuff, which is just kind of extra, eh, you know, I'm not really concerned about it,
Warp drive active.
but it's extra, so I'll sell it. And um, while it's not a huge contributor, every penny counts. Now, the other thing we need to figure out is how to price this stuff. So I was looking at HiSec buyback the other day.
Warp drive active.
Let me find it again. Here we go. Um, yeah, I've got way too many tabs open. Um, all right, so
Docking permission requested.
uh, high sec buyback and low sec buyback are shut down, but on the website they have provided links to some alternatives. So
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
we will try the first one on the list, which is quick ISK buyback. This just looks like a link to a EVE Online forum post. Cosmetics. Items, minerals. No minerals, no fuel. No. P0, P1. Planetary products. 85% G to buy. Okay, that seems complicated. How about cash for trash? That's the number 4. Here we go. This seems like a decent... I think that's all of the planetary interaction stuff that I have. Oh, no it isn't. Alright. So we're just going to contract this within our own corporation. See, paste, hit scan items, and wait for analysis. Okay. This actually has a really nice interface, I think better than high-sec buyback. I think this might be my new one. Cash for trash. It's the number 4. Um, really gives you all of the info. Defaults to 90%. 90% JITA, I'm assuming. Um, okay, so it shows sell price, the buy price, buyback value, which I'm assuming is 90% of JITA buy, and shipping costs, net value for each item. That's really good. I like this quite a bit. So it is 90% minus shipping costs, which, I think that's fair. Um, Obviously, the shipping costs aren't relevant. And I don't know if high-sec buyback was um, 90% buyback rate, 100 ISK per M3 shipping. Aha. Okay. Well, anyway, I really like their interface. So I think, like I said, I think that's going to be my new go-to for pricing stuff. And probably selling stuff too, but in this case, I'm just selling it within my own corporation. And my market focused alt will buy that and distribute it to whoever needs it. So, um, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for me for today. So until next time, have a good one.